Hey everybody, this is Roberto Blake of robertoblake.com, helping you create something awesome today. So we're going to talk about the best budget lenses for DSLR video here. It's 2015. I'm going to do this video and it's going to be awesome. Now, for the purposes of this video, I could go one direction. I could talk about using older used lenses that you could get off Amazon or eBay that are manual focus only, and a lot of DSLR video shooters go that route. Here's the thing though, I don't believe in the rule of shooting manual for DSLR video. I'm going to preface that with saying this. I believe that you initially frame up and do your auto focusing so that's tack sharp, and then switch to manual auto after you do some testing on your focus pulling. So I think that still having glass for your camera that can autofocus with the camera body that you have is super important. So I'm going to take that approach to it. With that in mind though, I'm still going to have some recommendations in the description below of some of those manual lenses for Nikon and Canon. So make sure you're checking that out if you're interested in that. I'm also going to use some of the third-party stuff from Tokina and Sigma. As you guys know, I've tried out some of that stuff, especially when borrowing from my friends, like my friend Chibi. Whenever we go on trips, I borrow the Tokina, and you saw I did a review of that. Now, the lenses that I'm going to recommend in terms of budget lenses for DSLR video, I'm going to preface this with saying these lenses are under $500. So, with that in mind, I'm going to recommend one of the first lenses that you can get is the Nikon or Canon equivalent of the 35mm f1.8. And this is one of my favorite lenses to use because even though it is a little plasticky, the build quality is solid, the color is tremendous. The bokeh that you can get with this is buttery smooth, and I love it overall just for shooting in low light situations and for getting really quality stuff. Whenever I do a lot of my personal filmmaking stuff or even certain things here for the channel, I prefer to use this. I prefer to use this for my product reviews and shoot with the bokeh in that way as far as the B-roll footage that I'm shooting for that. So I think that it's a great little lens, but alternatively, you could get the 50mm f1.8, and that's great for portraiture, video, and photography, and it gets some tremendous results. I use that from time to time. There's not a big gap between that, I would say personally, and the 35mm, but it is also within that price range. It's about $250. The 35mm is about $200. So either or both of these are really great for you when you're just starting out. Now, with that in mind, you can get some 17 to 50mm f2.8s from both Sigma and from Tokina, and I think Tamron as well. And those are really good. I would say out of them, Sigma is probably the dominant third-party camera brand right now, but I wouldn't count Tokina or Tamron out. I would say that Tamron is probably third in that tier. I would say that it's between Sigma and Tokina personally from my experience and from what I've used, and I would say that those are good. I'm actually going to be investing in a 17 to 50mm either Tokina or Sigma for the channel as an upgrade so that I can do even more stuff with that range, because at f2.8 you can get better depth of field in video, the color is going to be tremendous, and it's going to be really sharp. So I like that, and I like the balance of having that versus being stuck in a fixed focal length of either 35 or 50. I like having that zoom range so that I can compose however I want. So I would say that those are all tremendous, and those are all under $500, and I think they're going to be a good investment for you. Now, there is another lens that I'm going to throw out there for you guys that I think is excellent at a $500 price point as far as a budget DSLR video lens, and that is the Nikon f1.8 85mm, and that is so good if you want to go ahead and get some real distance, get nice drop off in terms of depth of field. I would say that it's a great lens for doing DSLR video and cinematography, especially in low light situations. I'm actually going to be borrowing a little more expensive model, the 85mm f1.4 from our friends over at Lumoid, and that's going to be really interesting. So I'll make sure I do a review and I show you guys that. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm waffling between getting that lens myself. I've tried it out and it is great, and I want to do a review for the f1.4, even though it's the more expensive one, but I just want to show you what that's like, and I think it's going to be really cool. The other lens that I am going to throw out here, though, is an f1.4 that is just around $500 within your budget, and that is the Nikon 50mm f1.4. Now again, there are some Canon equivalents to these, and I'm going to leave those links in the description below for you to check out. I'm primarily a Nikon user, not because I really have a preference of Nikon or Canon. If anything, I think I have a preference for Sony now, believe it or not. But the reason I use Nikon is because a lot of my friends use Nikon, which means I can borrow lenses and gear and trade with them and so on and so forth. And that's how I recommend you buy your camera gear, is buy what your friends and the people around you have so that you get more access to gear. But anyway, I think that the 50mm f1.4 can get you that whole extra half a stop of light, and it can get you even better smooth, buttery bokeh and depth of field. And I also know that it can be better in terms of color. What I will say is that at f1.4, it's hard to get things tack sharp sometimes, so be careful with pushing the range there. But it is a really great lens for $500 if that's within your budget. Now, there are a few honorable mentions like the Tokina 11-16 if you need to go wide angle. I have some links to some wide angle lenses in the description below. There are some good ones out there, and there's actually even a few good 24mm within that range. Those are very specific though. Those go to if you're doing a lot more stuff that's wide, and that might have to do with the type of cinematography you're doing, or if you're doing landscape for some reason. I lean toward lenses that are more geared toward portraiture, and that's my video style as well. So that's what I kind of base a lot of my information around, is based on what I've used and what I'm used to. But there are situations where those lenses actually are really good, especially if you're shooting something like a music video, or if you're doing something on a slider or a jib and crane for an establishing shot. Those can be tremendous. And I'm going to review more of those lenses here on the channel, so make sure you're staying tuned for that. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have more questions about budget lenses for DSLR video, make sure you're leaving those in the comments section below. Also, I'm going to say that Yongnuo is coming out with some clones of the Nikon and Canon lenses, and from everything I've read and everything I've seen online, those are very good. So don't hesitate to get third-party lenses. The one that they did for Canon is actually really good, and I think that Petapixel did an in-depth review of this, so that was really cool. And I also know that DP Review did one. And what I will say is that when a third party gets involved and they can make this stuff cheaper and produce it cheaper, it's really good for us, because a lot of the price has to do with there's not enough competition in the market and they're all charging around the same thing. So when somebody gets out there and they make these things, Yongnuo makes great flashes. The flashes are comparable to the Nikon and Canon stuff. Sometimes they're better. So I would say don't discount them just because they're a quote-unquote knockoff. Try them for yourself, or borrow them from a friend, or read the reviews online. And it could be a really good bang for your buck deal, especially if you're just getting started. Anyway, like this video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the other awesome content on the channel. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching, and don't forget, create something awesome today.